Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
Not my era.
and welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As always, free Palestine. We're going through a lot of rough stuff in America as is,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, it's all related. Uh, to Israel and Palestine and all that, and it sucks. I was last night. I
Yeah.
was chilling playing the game. Then I opened my phone and checked um, threads. I think, which I don't usually go in threads, but my threads is full of way too much political stuff that I'm like, I gotta stay off threads. And yeah, and then I just saw
Yeah.
that Trump bombed what was it? Iran without like permission from anybody but
Mm.
himself, and he like that's against the Constitution. And I'm like, what's happening? What's going on? How is he still in office?
Right.
Get him out of here. Um, and then I'm of a very specific mindset that the it's been said by various people, but the conservatives are unfortunately united. They know what they want, and they all want the same things, and it's unfortunate. Whereas our side of the fence, the liberals, were divided. We're all, which is ultimately, it's the reason why we're divided is a good thing, but it's not good for the cause overall. Um,
Right.
because we allow free think, we allow people to have different opinions, and we aren't so unified in hate like conservatives are.
Mhm.
But as a result, we're fighting each other. There's a lot of infighting, and
Right.
there's
And
I'm not a big fan of, like, I get it, okay, Kamala wasn't she the greatest choice, and people wanted to make statements, they wanted to stand by their morals, but like your morals don't
it
matter.
wasn't the time for
Your
it.
morals don't matter when World War III happens. Your morals
Right.
don't matter in that situation. You got to be realistic about this stuff and recognize that,
Hmm.
yeah, it sucks that we have to choose the lesser of two evils. But that's what we have to do if we want to ultimately, eventually, rid ourselves of that evil altogether. Like
Exactly.
this is like this podcast, we talk about video games and comic books and cartoons. Real life isn't that. I love Superman. That's just not real. We have to side with
Yeah.
someone that isn't great for us to eventually find someone else who's better. And us being
Hmm.
so divisive and voting for third parties that we knew damn well weren't going to win was just not
When.
helpful. Like, your moral grandstanding
Yeah.
of voting for that person or not voting at all or just abstaining doesn't help Israel and Palestine. It just doesn't. It doesn't help Palestine. I mean, we don't need to help
Yeah.
Israel. It doesn't help that conflict. It doesn't help us, try and put a stop to that, because now we just have a person who's much worse in office doing much worse things than Kamala Khan ever would have done. And
Exactly.
you have to really think about these decisions. You don't like your moral grandstanding doesn't matter if you're dead. And if the people you love are
Hmm.
dead because you voted someone in office who's going to get us all killed.
Right.
I know this is something we usually talk about on this podcast, but I just have to say it because things are getting real bad real fast, and it sucks. And I hate to be
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
hate to be stressed
It
out. I
does. It
don't like being stressed out. I just want to enjoy my life. Okay. Um, but moving on. As usual, we'll start with animation. We're in a bit of a transitional
does.
period with the podcast, so things are going to be a little bit different this episode. Rather than starting and talking about what we've been interacting with lately, overall, we're going to do that every section and talk about what we've been interacting with in terms of animation, comics and books, TV and film, and video games. So we're going to start with animation. So, what cartoons have you been watching lately?
Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. There's one in particular that I've been watching a lot of Barnyard recently, and I guess Back at the Barnyard by extension, which is really weird, but like I've been feeling a lot of nostalgia for it, so I've been watching it again. And it's a lot. The Barnyard, the movie, is really good. The TV show or cartoon is really bad. It's like a lot worse than I remember.
I forgot that
And it's like watching it, it's funny.
it came back.
Hmm. Yeah, and like it's funny at times, but it really takes away everything that made like Barnyard the movie really really great, because it's rather gritty and sad, all things considered. And then like Back at the Barnyard kind of takes all that and kind of throws it out the window, and it just feels weird. I've been watching a lot of also like pre-Butch Hartman getting his grubby little fingers all over everything. Fairly Odd Parents, and it used to be so much fun, like funnier before he took like almost complete creative control. Like I don't know, it had the sauce, and then it lost the sauce very quickly. And have I been watching any anime? No, no anime. I don't think. Yeah, I've mostly been reading manga lately. So yeah, that's all I've got for right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll change soon because Dan to Dan's coming back next month, June 3rd.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for me, still, watching Superman the Animated Series and One Piece alongside Blind Wave. It's so fun rewatching One Piece. So nostalgic. Same thing with Superman the Animated Series as well. Just two cartoons from my childhood. But in terms of like ongoing series, I'm watching Lazarus, which is approaching its end with one episode left. Episode 12 released today on HBO Max, and I have to check that out later after we finish recording. And I believe there's only, if the internet is to be believed, there's one episode left. And in episode 9, there was one of the coolest and most creative fight scenes I've ever seen in animation, with an assassin taking down a squad of soldiers with a rope dart made out of a throwing knife and a wire, and it was so cool. It was so cool. Lazarus is a really fun show. I feel like at first I was like iffy on it. I was like, it's cool. There's some fun action, and some of the characters are interesting, but it was like whatever. But as the show went on, it got better, and the overall kind of like plot of like this miracle drug was released that essentially is like, yeah, it can do anything basically. It cures all illnesses and stuff like that. And everybody's taking it, and everybody's doing good, and they're using it for various different reasons, different ways. It could be used as like a recreational drug. It could be used as a pain medication, a bunch of different stuff. But it turns out that it's gonna kill everybody. The person who created it wants to destroy humanity because humanity's destroying the earth. And now the whole show is about a team called Lazarus hunting that person down because he said, if you can find me, you'll get the cure. But if you don't, you're all gonna die.
It wouldn't be a Watanabe anime without eco-terrorism, I feel like.
Oh, sure.
It's in Cowboy Bebop, it's in Carol and Tuesday. Like, there's always got to be like an eco-terrorism thing. And I think that's really fascinating.
That man is trying to save the world.
For real.
I also finally watched Predator Killer of Killers on Hulu. And, it was as good as I expected it to be. The animation was absolutely gorgeous, with the 3D models, with 2D textures and effects that I never shut up about, and that the industry is currently obsessed with. I stand by the fact that it would have been better as a show, but I can imagine that the only way to even get this greenlit was to make it a movie, so I understand why it ended up being a movie. Dan Trachtenberg, the director of Kill of Killers, Prey, and the upcoming Predator Badlands, says that he's planning a sequel. And in a perfect world, it would be a series this time instead of a movie. But I'd be fine either way, to be honest. There's also a very surprising Easter egg at the end of the movie that could be setting up Predator Badlands and is a callback to Prey. So yeah, I'm really excited for the future of the Predator franchise. And both Alien and Predator are back in a big way. And it's only a matter of time before we get another crossover. I also would love an animated Alien movie in a style similar to this. But yeah, moving on to some animation news. Somehow, Ninja Kamui returned. Ninja Kamui has been renewed for 2 more seasons. And we got a teaser visual for season 2 titled Ninja Kamui Red Vendetta. There are so many shows more deserving of a season 2 than Ninja Kamui. This show started strong with it was a classic revenge tale. The dude's wife and kid were murdered. Like him and his wife used to be ninjas. They ran away from being ninjas, and now the ninjas are hunting them. And they caught up to him, killed his wife and his son, and now he wants revenge. And it started good. A lot of good action. Some ninja magic. It was cool. And then they threw in mechs for no reason, and it completely ruined everything. Like the animation got worse.
Really?
I'm not a hater of CGI in anime when it's good. Right. This was bad.
Exactly.
It wasn't even bad necessarily. It was just whatever. It wasn't as good as the 2D animation. So it was like, why'd you do this?
I feel like
mechs weren't necessary in this show. It was cool the way that it was. And then they just threw mechs in here for no reason. I'm like, where did these mechs come from? What does this have to do with anything?
Right. We're all cooking. Like, I feel like when it comes to CGI, especially like in animes that have mechs in them, like mid CGI is so much worse than bad CGI, because like bad CGI you can laugh at. You're like, this is terrible. But like mid CGI, it's like, this has potential and it's not reaching it. It's insane.
Yeah. But with that said, uh, this could potentially be a good thing because, back in the day, shows with mediocre or bad season ones would get renewed for a second season all the time and then improve upon everything and, become great. Nowadays, we don't get that. So a lot of potentially great shows don't get the opportunity to redeem themselves and, grow and flourish. And I have absolutely no doubt that these creatives are aware of their mistakes and want to use this second opportunity to keep doing the things that people actually like about the show. And
Yeah.
like I said, the show was much cooler when it was focused on martial arts and magic. So hopefully they go back to that with this second season and, hear the fans and recognize that nobody wanted that mech shit. um, Also, back when I was, watching it and, talking about it on the podcast, I said that this team would make a great Ninja Gaiden anime. And I stand by that. Instead of making a season 3, make a Ninja Gaiden anime. That would be way cooler.
Right.
And don't throw mechs in there. But yeah, next we have a first look at Gatto, a new Pixar film from Luca director Enrico Casarosa. It follows a black cat in Venice with a love of music who is shunned by locals due to superstitions, and it's being done in a new hand-painted style of animation, and it's set to release in theaters the summer of 2027. It sounds like basically Ratatouille, but music instead of food and a cat instead of a rat, which is by no means a criticism. That sounds fun.
Right.
But have you seen like the image going around of like the first look at this? Because I can't remember.
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
the,
yeah.
the flow influence is palpable. For those of you who don't know, Flow was a independent animated film about a cat and various other animals living in this like post-apocalyptic world. I have yet to see it. I have to watch it eventually. It was playing in the Senator Theater, and not the Senator, the Parkway Theater, and I didn't feel like going to go see it. I was just being lazy that day, but I'll have to see it eventually.
Real.
And it's nice to see Pixar finally doing something new. They've been pretty stagnant lately. They've been very hit or miss. So hopefully it's good, and it being different tends to be a pretty good sign. I hear that. I can't remember if it's a Pixar movie or a Disney movie, but like Disney's most recent animated movie, I hear is pretty good. I forget what it's called. Is that Luca, the one that's out now? No, Luca was the one with the fish dude.
Yeah, Luca's the one with Elio, the one about
Elio.
the kid that gets like abducted by aliens. Yeah.
I've been hearing good things about that. I don't think I'm gonna watch it. It might
That's
be
really cool.
similar to like Coco, where I hear good things but don't see it in theaters and just watch it years later when it's on Disney Plus.
Right.
But yeah, this looks good. You got any thoughts?
Yeah. I don't know. It does look really, really good. I might actually go see this, but I'll probably go see it with like my siblings or something. Take them out to the movies for the kicks and giggles.
Yeah. Next in animation, we have a Mr. Miracle animated series. We got a first look at a Mr. Miracle animated series. It is described as an adult-oriented animated series, and comic writer Tom King will serve as showrunner. And Darkseid is expected to appear. So I can't remember if I actually sent you an image of this. If you don't mind just looking up Mr. Miracle anime series, they put up like a little still, and the story is described as the son of God raised by the devil as he tries to save his family, his world, and maybe even himself. So I'm a huge fan of Mr. Miracle and the New Gods. So this is very exciting to me. And in recent interviews, Gunn has stated that he's working on a kinda sequel to Superman. And I feel like that could end up being a New Gods movie because Darkseid was originally a Superman villain. So I could see Superman heavily being featured in a story about the New Gods, which there's also currently an ongoing New Gods comic. So, there could be some synergy there. But it's also not like confirmed that this is going to be canon to the main universe. This could be an Elseworlds thing, which either way, I'm just happy that more kind of like casual fans of comic book media are being introduced to these lesser known characters like Scott Free, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda. But there's also the Tom Kang of it all. Tom Kang has been under fire lately due to
Ooh,
his run on Wonder Woman, as you've heard me rant about.
right.
And as a result, there's a bit of, I feel like, revisionist history happening. On the surface, Tom King's Wonder Woman is a beautifully drawn comic by Daniel Sampere. His art is incredible. With a very fun and engaging writing style by King. I've always enjoyed his style of writing, which is usually done through a character's narration. Um,
Hmm.
but when you dig into it, as I've discussed before, um, there's a lot of somewhat subtle misogyny mixed with an odd sense of patriotism that makes the book feel more like propaganda than a story about DC's greatest champion of like peace and love. But
Right.
outside of this, he's written some incredible things, like Supergirl One of Tomorrow, which is currently being adapted into a movie, and they dropped the One of Tomorrow from the name, and they're just going to call the movie Supergirl. And Mr. Miracle, which is the comic that this series is very likely pulling from, seeing as the writer is the showrunner. Um,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean he's beyond criticism, and that people shouldn't be vocal about
Right.
how he writes woman and urge Gunn to make sure that Big Barda, Mr. Miracle's wife, is done right. But at the end of the day,
Right.
he is a damn good writer, and he's wrote some really good stuff, and he's currently writing Black Canary Best of the Best, and I've yet to notice any of the glaring issues that I've seen in the Wonder Woman comic in that comic. Um, so I just feel like you know maybe Wonder Woman just wasn't the right character for him. Uh,
Yeah.
and that might just be the problem overall. And
Hmm.
or maybe even behind the scenes, he's being forced to do certain things. Again, I don't want to necessarily like. At the end of the day, remind you, he worked for the CIA. I feel like
Right.
I'm just personally not a fan of you don't like somebody, so you pretend like everything they make is bad. That's not true. Bad
Hmm.
people can be
Yeah.
talented.
To
Like,
make good things. Yeah.
yeah, this guy might suck because he worked for the CIA. Doesn't change the fact he's written some really good goddamn comics, okay? And I'm
And in
not.
fact,
Go ahead.
oh, yeah, it's very reductionist to say that like bad people can't make good things. In fact, like that's like I don't know how to phrase what I'm thinking, but it's like that's not a good viewpoint to have because if you attach morality to talent, that's a whole separate issue. Then because it's like good people can make bad stuff, bad people can make good stuff. We have to look at works not based on morality, but based on like subjective thing, not subjective, objective points of view. Like this is bad not because he's a bad person necessarily, but because the writing has this, and this, or because it lacks this, and this. Because
Exactly.
I don't know.
And
I just don't like it.
I also think that if you want to encourage people not to interact with something because you don't like the person, say that. Don't try and make up
Hmm.
something about the way it's written is being bad, unless it's true, like it is with his Wonder Woman. Don't try and like say that about other stories he's written just because you don't like the current story he's writing, because there's a bit of evidence
Right.
of him not being great at writing woman, but not to the extent of the way he's writing Wonder Woman in all of his other books. Like, for example, Supergirl One of Tomorrow, I've not really heard anybody, even to this day, where we're hearing a lot of people complain about his Wonder Woman run. I've not heard anybody go back and start complaining about how he writes Supergirl. I've not heard any actual
Right.
credible, like, actual criticism other than, oh, he's not good at writing women. But nobody's actually gone into detail about anything that's bad about what he did with Supergirl, because I don't think he did anything bad with Supergirl. Um, so it's like if you don't like him, that's fine. And if you don't like the way he's writing Wonder Woman, I agree. But like you said, it's very reductionist to go bad person, therefore everything he makes bad. That's not how that works.
Right.
Also, a person can write a good thing one day and a bad thing another. That's also how that works.
Exactly.
Not everything somebody makes is going to be the best thing in the world. But hopefully it's good.
Right.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
stuff like this, animated projects, live action projects, and of course comics aren't made by one person either, but it tends to be one writer with sometimes the artist gives their 2 cents with the writing, but most of the time not really. So it's like the writing for the
Hmm.
comic is mostly him, whereas for a show is like it's a whole team of dozens, if not hundreds of people. So
Right.
like hopefully there are some people there to help make up for some of his deficiencies that we've seen in his writing lately. And Big Barda is written well, which it's been a while since I read Mr. Miracle. I remember liking it a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't written the best in that. um,
Right.
but in my memory, it's kind of just so heavily focused on Scott, the main character, Mr. Miracle, that I feel like there just wasn't a lot of room to miswrite her. But maybe that's part of the problem that people found in that book, is that maybe she just wasn't in it as much as they thought she should be. But
Right.
and hopefully it's better in this overall. Again, I'm not trying to necessarily defend Tom King as much as defending the idea that you shouldn't be necessarily assigning morality to talent.
Yeah.
Moving on to comics. Once again, doing things differently. So I'm not gonna give a synopsis of every comic I'm reading. I'm just gonna go through what I'm reading, and then talk about some major comic news that happened recently. So lately,
Ooh.
I've been continuing to read Marvel's Ultimate Universe of Comics. I'm reading Ultimate Black Panther finally. The app is always. I stopped buying it physically because it was just whatever. So I started reading it digitally, and uh, unlike DC's app is 1 month behind, but Marvel's app is 3 months behind. So I had to wait 3 months to catch up. So I read Ultimate Black Panther number 13, Ultimate X-Men number 11. I picked up a lot of comics a couple of weeks ago that I'm slowly reading from my local comic shop. So I read Ultimate Wolverine numbers 5 and 6, a comic that I may end up dropping because it's cool, but it's not that cool. It's not worth buying.
Damn.
And then Ultimates number 12. Of course, I'm still reading DC's Absolute Universe of Comics. I'm reading Absolute Flash. I read number 2 recently, Absolute Batman number 8, Absolute Wonder Woman number 7, and Absolute Superman number 6 and 7, which I didn't realize I was behind until I started reading and going, oh, sometimes I'll read an issue and then realize I don't think I read the issue before this one. And then I'll go back and read it. Like, I'll read it and not be confused somehow, and then realize, oh, I skipped a whole issue. What happened? But in terms of the main DC universe and some Elseworld stories, I'm reading Red Green Arrow number 23, Superman number 25. We Are Yesterday parts 1 through 3, which is a crossover between the Justice League Unlimited and Superman Batman World's Finest comics. Wonder Woman 19, which is the very end of Tom King's first arc on Wonder Woman, and I have since dropped the comic because I don't care to read it anymore. I read Nightwing number 119, which is the beginning of a new writer picking up Nightwing, and I heard it's good so far, and I love Nightwing, and I haven't read a Nightwing comic in a long time, so I'm starting to read that. Poison Ivy number 32, Batgirl number 7, which I'm excited with this kind of new arc in the story about learning. We're learning about Lady Shiva, Batgirl Cassandra Cain's mother's past, and that has been really fun so far. And something that I don't think has ever been explored before. New Gods number 4, slowly catching up on that. I've been catching up on a lot of comics lately because I've been starting to read them in the morning and sometimes at night. Because usually at night I read quote unquote regular books, books without pictures.
Right.
But now I'm starting to sometimes read some comics at night. I read Zatanna number 2. I finished up The Question All Along the Watchtower with issues number 5 and 6. And finally, catching up on Power Girl with numbers 18 and 19. Yeah, so what have you been reading lately, actually?
So, I took a trip down to my local library, because right now it is summer reading era, here where we live at. So I took a trip down to my local library, got a couple things, I say a couple, it's a lot. I got a copy of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I'm really teetering back and forth between liking it and not liking it, because it's like, the protagonist, like, she does things where it's like, yeah, I'm rooting for her, and then she makes decisions where it's like, no, I'm not rooting for you so hard anymore. And also, it's very painfully straight. Like, there's queer characters in it, but like, it's because the main girl is like super straight. It's like she straightenifies the narrative, and it makes it a little boring. But hopefully, the more I get into it, the more I start to like it, because I really like the world building. It's like dragons, and like, they have all these like codes. They go to a military college. It's really neat.
Whoa.
It's just
What's
the
it called
vessel
again?
in which the Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros.
It definitely sounds like a book that should be gay.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's this whole bit, like, she has a friend that she makes when she gets like into the war college who is gay and black, and I'm like, they should be gay for each other, but no,
They should be gay
she
and
wants
black
to,
for each other.
the dad. I'm saying. And like I was like, they were really vague about the main character's name is Violet. And they were really vague about like what she looked like up until a certain point. And I was like, in my head, I was imagining her as a person of color. And they were like pale skin, pale hair, and pale eyes. And I'm like, God damn it!
She's just a
Not
fucking
another white
ghost.
woman. I can't.
She's just a sheet of
I'm
paper.
saying. Yeah, she's like very frail and sickly, so she doesn't really belong in the military college. But I don't know. It's one of those books where it's like this is very much geared towards a certain audience, and I am not that audience. But the world building has me so hooked that I won't drop it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
So-
that. I thought you were gonna say it was like one of those books that are like that's like prime queer baiting. We're like,
Yeah,
it's
no,
almost
I
like
don't know.
some people enjoy kind of just being edged by those type of books, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. Yeah. In my head, they're gay. In my canon, they're gay. I also picked up the first volume of Hellsing to read. I haven't started reading it yet. Or, well, I'm like 3 pages in, and it's been really good.
I haven't read or watched Hellsing in a very
should-
long time.
I know. I'm like, this is the natural next step after Trigun. Because, you know, cease and desist.
Just gotta get more
Um,
Dark Horse
I told you
comics.
Yeah. I told you about that, didn't I? Where like the mangaka for Hellsing got a cease and
Oh,
desist
yeah.
from Naito.
Yeah, I remember.
Because yeah. What else? I picked up 2 volumes of this other manga called Lady Snowblood. And she's like an assassin
I've heard of
not
that.
ancient Edo, but like late Edo period, and she goes to brothels and like kills guys, and it's really
Oh,
neat.
you know
I think
what?
my only
I think
mm-hmm.
I think that's been animated recently because I think I'd heard of it because I might have saw like a trailer for it.
Yeah, maybe. Hold on, let me look it up. I really like the art style, and I really like everything about it. My only qualm is that she is very naked.
Oh no,
in a lot of
I
the
heard
time.
about it because there's a live action movie that's that.
Oh, okay.
That's where I heard about it.
Got you. Yeah, and it's like she's naked a lot of the time, but it feels very gratuitous. Like it doesn't really make sense within the narrative. But I really like the art style. It's by the tag from the library is kind of covering it up. But the story is by Kazuo Koike, and the art is by Kazuo Kamimura, and it's really good. If you know, I like the art style a lot. And then last thing, I picked up a copy of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow per your recommendation
it's so
because they
good.
had it in the library. It is really good so far. I'm not that far in, but it's so good. And like, when I asked the people at the library if they had it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is like the last copy because we keep recommending it to people because it's so good." And I'm like, "Bet." And yeah,
It's
real good.
yeah.
That-
It looks like the live action movie from the 70s was based off of this manga.
Oh, got you. But yeah, that's all I've got that I've been reading. Go to your local library. It's great. Libraries are great.
Yeah, I used to go to them all the time when I was a kid. I just
Mm-hmm.
I get my books through various other means. But
Yeah, it's like it's a good place to like check out books where it's like you want to read it, but you're not sure if you want to commit to buying it just
yeah,
yet.
for sure. But in terms of comic news, we are getting the first Marvel and DC crossover comic in years with
Wow.
Batman cross Deadpool. Weird ass combination. So
Very
strange.
weird.
So strange. So weird. But it makes sense in the sense that they're both really popular. We're going to be getting 2 one-shot comics. One for Marvel, written by Zeb Wells, and one for DC, written by Grant Morrison. And they will also feature some backups from creators like Kevin Smith, Chip Zdarsky, Kelly Thompson, Adam Kubert, Terry Dodson, Guru, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Gurihiru, and more. Some of these backup stories include Wonder Woman Cross Captain America by Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dodson, Daredevil and Green Arrow by Kevin Smith and Adam Kubert, Crypto and Jeff the Landshark by Kelly Thompson and Gurihiru, and yeah, that's about it so far that we know of. And a lot of people, including myself, were disappointed that we're getting Cap and Wonder Woman instead of Wonder Woman and Storm. And some people are afraid that this is DC continuing to try and make Wonder Woman a patriotic symbol. But when you realize who's writing it and remember who Cap is, it makes a lot more sense. It's being written by Chip Zdarsky,
Right.
famous for his Daredevil run. And he had this to say about it. He said that Cap and Diana are both symbols of strength and peace, and that it's been thrilling to explore what they'd mean to each other. Because Captain America wears the Star Spangled Banner on his chest, sometimes we forget that he's a character that fights for far more than the American dream, and fights for essentially all the exact same things that Wonder Woman does. So the crossover, ultimately, it does make sense. The problem is that, like, as far as we know, this is the only woman who's going to be in the book or in the two crossover books, and only God knows when we'll get another crossover. So it would have been nice to also get a female rep from Marvel alongside Wonder Woman. But there's a chance there might still be more, and we might get more crossovers with more, women from the Marvel side crossing over with someone from the DC side.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I'm still very excited for this, and I hope that it results in more crossovers so that we do get more women from each side and people of color from each side interacting with each other. But what do you think about this? As not big comic fan, but interesting.
Fringe outsider comic fan. I'm a bit interested. I do think that it's kind of funny that this is the first time this is happening in a really, really long time. I don't know. I was under the impression that like there were more crossovers than this, but I guess not. I don't know. It sounds interesting. Yeah, that's all my thoughts.
Getting into TV and film, me and Christian will be reviewing the final two episodes 6 and 7 of The Last of Us Season 2. All right, so we are back for the final time for Season 2 of The Last of Us with Episode 6. Of course, Christian is back once again. You want to introduce yourself one final time this season of The Last of Us, Christian?
Yes, I do. My name is Christian, and I'm a teaching artist, filmmaker, and musician in the city. I make music under the name Black Norma, and yeah, it's great to be welcome back for another conversation on The Last of Us.
Yeah, we're going into the last two episodes of The Last of Us Season 2. And yeah, of course, we're going to start with Episode 6, which was, again, before we start, actually, spoiler alerts for the entirety of, these two seasons of the Last of Us TV show, but also all of the game, both the first game's DLC and the entirety of the second game. We're gonna get into future spoilers, so if you don't want to know anything about, future stuff that's gonna happen in the show based on, what we know about the game, don't watch this. But yeah, getting into Episode 6. And as predicted, Episode 6 was all flashbacks, and it was directed by Neil Druckmann himself, and also written by him and Haley Gross, who was a co-writer on the second game. And of course, Craig Mazin also wrote alongside them. This whole episode is going through Ellie's birthdays from between the end of Season 1 and where we are in Season 2, starting with her 15th birthday. Yeah, and then we get the flashback that we've been waiting for, learning how and why Joel killed Eugene, therapist, Gail's husband. And, it's once again Ellie's birthday. She's 17 now, and she's going on her first patrol with Joel. And on their patrol, they come across Eugene and his patrol partner having been attacked by infected. His patrol partner's dead, and Eugene was bit. And, as we assumed, that's why Joel had to kill him. But here, he wants to go back to Jackson. He wants to see his wife, have his final words. But Joel is like, there's protocol. You're infected. You could come back, infect the town. We got to kill you right here now. You know this. And, he tries to, talk him down. And what's this guy's name? Joey Pants?
Yeah, Joey Pants.
Ellie kind of convinces Joel. And Joel's like, okay, well, go back and get the horses. We'll take him back to town. We'll tie him up. Keep him from biting us. And of course, he lies. He takes Eugene to a lake. Eugene's like, I don't need a view. I just want to see my wife. And Joel's like, you know the rules, man. Can't take you back. But, if you love someone, you can always see him. So he stops. He thinks. He says, I can see her. Joel shoots him. Ellie comes out and then, catches him in the act. And then they drag his body back to the town. And Joel spins a tale about how brave Eugene was and how he took his own life because he didn't want to infect anybody, and how he said that he loved her despite the fact that that was none of it. No, that wasn't what happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ellie's over it because Ellie's just like, no, this is her realizing, oh, he lied to me. And she tells the truth. She tells Gale, no, he shot him in the head. He wanted to come back and talk to you, but he didn't. But Joel didn't want him to because whatever, and he shot him in the head. And of course, Gale's upset, and we know more about that based on what she said to him in their therapy session in the first episode.
Right.
But yeah, and then she says specifically, "You swore," and then walks away, which isn't what he didn't swear. He promised, but what he did swear about was he swore about what happened at Salt Lake City. And that's what she was referencing. She wasn't referencing his lie just then. She was referencing his lie several years ago.
Yeah. Which I thought that basing the reveal that Joel lied around Joel's tendencies as a liar was way more effective than Ellie just magically going to Salt Lake.
Yeah, because it's like, how far away is Salt Lake City? Like, she just goes all the way to Salt Lake City. And does
and then
that,
Joel's like, we've been worried about you. Where did you go? Like, she went on a whole expedition in the game. But here, it's just, once she hears Joel spin that tale, Ellie immediately recognizes the cadences, the tone of voice, because it's everything that he said before. He's like, there's plenty of other immune people out there. The doctors tried, and just nothing worked. And Ellie, it's the same exact tone he used. Yeah, I feel like that Ellie saying "you swore" that was way more effective for me, and it made what Joel did and Joel's behavior even more just seedy.
But also in that
just
moment, it's also like, I get she was upset, but she shouldn't have done that. She should have let Gale live with the lie and confronted Joel later. But in that moment, she just wanted to hurt him, and she knew that Gale finding out would hurt him without any regard about how it would hurt Gale. And also kind of just probably a childish thought of, well, he lied and I'm not going to lie, even if it hurts her. Despite the fact that, there are some cases like that where, the lie is arguably better, and she would have been better off, living her life thinking that he died heroically, but, Ellie's anger just overtook her and she wanted to hurt Joel. And then we get into the final flashback of this episode and what is the final flashback of the game. And I don't think any of us expected it to happen this early. Like, even knowing that this was a full flashback episode, I think once I realized this was a full flashback episode, I thought it might happen, but I wasn't certain. But definitely before this episode, I didn't think it was going to happen at all this season. I thought it was going to be the end of the next season like they did in the game. But as soon as
I thought it would be last season, like the last episode.
But once you start watching this episode, you realize, oh, we might get that flashback.
Right.
And we do. Ellie in episode 3 lied and said that the last time she saw Joel was the night. Well, I guess technically she didn't lie. Because I don't know if she said it was the night of the party or if it was at the party specifically. But I think in that scene, it was like she was lying. So I think it had to be specifically at the party. And she lied. And she didn't. That wasn't the last time she saw him. She went back home and she talked to him on a porch. And we get another almost perfect recreation of a scene from the game. There's a few line changes here and there that are kind of subtle, but nothing drastic. And it is basically exactly how it goes down in the game.
I mean, first starting on what you were saying about the fact that this is the last scene of the game, basically.
I guess we should probably, I was going to do it, but my brain was thinking, we should probably set up the context of the scene in general. But in this scene, this is Ellie kind of essentially beginning the process of forgiving Joel
Right.
on the night before he dies, which, makes it very, very, gut wrenching and heart wrenching, and, making his death feel even worse when you find out that
Yeah.
they were on the road to, recovering their relationship. But yeah, go ahead. What were you
And
going
it
to say?
makes oh yeah, and it makes all of Ellie's anger and how out of character she was make sense. Because it's not just, oh, the fact that he was killed, it was the fact that we were mending and we were on the process of recovery and it was taken away from her. Um, I feel like that was like a very key part of Ellie's arc in the game. And I feel like doing it earlier, I don't think it makes the story worse, but I just think they're telling a different story here. Um, yeah, I wasn't as the episode went on, I was like, oh, we're gonna get this scene. We're getting the port scene most likely. But yeah, I thought it was just very different.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think overall the line changes were just one, Joel saying I love you. That was not in the game at all. Like Joel saying I love you. Um, and of course Joel saying like I hope you're a little better than me.
Yeah.
Like Joel saying all of that stuff. That was not in the game at all. But I feel like within the narrative that they weaved here, they added extra context there. Also, Ellie saying you're selfish. That wasn't the narrative either. It was mainly just like Joel saying I'll do it all over again, and then Ellie says I don't think I can forgive you for that. But Ellie calls Joel selfish.
Hmm.
Um, but overall, line for line, it's virtually the same.
Yeah.
Um,
And in the making of at the end of the episode, um, Druckmann talks about how he showed this scene to Craig Mazin while the second game was in production, and at that point in time, they were already like in the process of getting the show off the ground with Craig Mazin on board um, to work on the show in some capacity, which was very surprising to me to know that this show was in the works that early, that it was in the works
yeah.
like in between 2013 and 2020, sometime in
Mhm.
between then when they were working on the second game,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
yeah, that's insane that they've been working on this for that long. But it makes sense with how big of a hit the first game was and the fact that it revolutionized the way people tell stories in games. That they'd immediately be like, we got to turn this into a show or a movie. I bet it probably was supposed to be a movie back then before it became a
Yeah,
show.
it was right. Yeah, it was a movie for a bit. Like they were talking about making it a movie like 2015, 2016. They've been trying, but it was just like I felt like it was just in production hell.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like we might have touched on it in the first episode when we were talking about early season two, but Caitlin Deaver was supposed to be Ellie.
Mm.
Yeah, Caitlin Deaver was supposed to be Ellie in the film The Last of Us,
Oh wow.
and yeah, they pivoted into making it a show, and at that point, Caitlin Deaver aged out of the role, so she just wasn't really in consideration for Ellie anymore. But once Ellie came up, or once Abby came up, I mean, that's when they decided to make Abby be played by Caitlin Deaver, also her playing Cassie, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, Caitlin Deaver was initially supposed to be Ellie in the Last of Us movie, but I
But yeah,
think them opting for television worked way better.
yeah, definitely. I think most games are better off as shows, honestly. There are very few
Yeah.
that I think would be better off as movies. So getting into the season 2 finale of The Last of Us, episode 7, Seattle Day 3. Following up on the events of the flashback, you know, learning that Ellie had her final moments with Joel, we go back to her after the events of her torturing um, Nora, back to the theater, meeting up with Jesse and Dina. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong about this being where it happens, but I believe This is where Ellie tells Dina that like what Joel did to warrant his death. As to be expected. Uh, After Dina finds out, what happens, she's like, "Yeah, no, we gotta cut this out," because Dina stated in episode 5, um, she found her family dead, her mother and sister murdered by a random man, but she was able to kill him. And the reason she justifies going on this revenge trip with Ellie is because she knows that if she didn't catch the man who killed her family in the act and murder him herself, she would have hunted him down to the ends of the earth. But now knowing that
Right.
Joel did the same
Mm.
thing to someone else, she understands why that person did what they did, and she no longer thinks it's worth pursuing revenge. On top of course, all of the danger that they're in, and them potentially, you know, getting killed in the process. After her, getting an arrow pulled out of her leg, or pushed through her leg, actually, um, by Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were your thoughts
Which,
about Dina's reaction?
I think it was interesting because Dina's kind of paraphrase. It was almost like, I'm down for vengeance, but this is different. Um, in Dina's eyes, what Ellie was doing was immediately justified because from her perspective, she is like, wow, Ellie just lost her dad. Like, we should take care of business. We should do what we got to do in Seattle. And like, she was very ride or die, and she cross applied it to her experience. But Dina realizes that her experience is very different from Ellie's, and that, yeah, what Joel did is innately foul,
Yeah,
and it's hard to justify it. And or that's a word, justify justice. But I feel like in Dina's head, it's not a moral, it's not the easy B movie plot revenge story that she thought it was. She was like, all right, we're going to Seattle. We're getting the people that killed your father. Not we're getting the people who killed your father after he killed other people's family and prevented humanity from having a cure. Like Joel's situation is so much more heinous and more depraved to an extent. And I feel like that moment is Dina realizing that it's not just revenge. There's layers of hurt involved in this, and it's bigger than her understanding. Which plays into perspective and how that plays into the entire story.
absolutely.
But yeah, thought that Dina's response. I thought her response was definitely an interesting response.
But here, that
Mhm.
that revenge just takes over again, and she decides to abandon Jesse ultimately. But I want to hear more of your perspective on the scene where, like, Ellie decides to abandon Jesse and Tommy.
I Her perspective is warped. It's a very warped perspective. Like you can see her pain and like her one. It's not very consistent, and like I do. Okay, I don't want to say it's not consistent because once she saw the whale and the wheel, like once she saw Nora's hints at the aquarium, she that was everything she needed. So like yeah, I feel like towards the beginning of the episode, she did want to leave. But once she saw that it was right there and in the distance and reachable, I don't think she would have been happy with just leaving in that moment. And she was like, "All
Yeah,
right, I'm doing this. This is what I would need to do." Um, um, but still think that Ellie's decision to leave Tommy and Jesse basically die. I do think that it was a foul decision, and that it was rooted in selfishness. Because yeah, Tommy and Jesse came down there to, help them get back to Jackson just for Ellie to dip, just for the sake of satisfying something. Yeah, it's because of the fact that the scene, the fact that Ellie and Joel's last conversation is already shown, it makes some of Ellie's actions even harder to understand or rationalize. Um, I could understand Ellie maybe being upset at Jesse for not voting for them to go
Yeah, which
with
was
like more
also
people
a big
and more.
reveal that that happened in the episode
Yeah,
of like he wasn't part of the three people that voted. It was semi confirmed that
yeah,
um, Tommy's wife was one of them. I'm forgetting her name at the moment, and Tommy of course was, but it's revealed that Jesse wasn't that third vote. Maria, I believe.
yeah. Oh yeah, Maria. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like in the effort to kind of give some sort of vague justification for Ellie's actions, they try to diminish um, Jesse and Dina a bit. Um, yeah, I don't know, or not Jesse and Dina, but that scene where like Ellie is straight up like bump the community, I don't care. That was when it's a sad moment because Jesse's like I don't I there's nothing I can do at this point.
Yeah. Let's move on
Yeah,
to the aquarium
I
itself. Um,
yeah,
uh, you know,
which I think is the best scene in the episode, honestly.
yeah, and the process for getting into the aquarium is just like how you do it in the game. Climbing on top of the building, dropping down, even the hallways, it's all the exact same. And
Mhm.
yeah, we get the iconic scene of Ellie murdering. Uh, I almost called him Nolan. What is that man's name?
Oh, Owen.
Owen. Owen and Mel. Except
Yeah.
in my memory of the game, it was kind of more in cold blood in the game, whereas here is an accident.
Yeah.
Especially the killing of Mel. Whereas in the game, it was kind of
Yes.
more. It was still reactionary, but it was still like purposeful. Whereas this one, she kind
Yeah.
of just fired, you know, out of because
Haphazardly.
yeah, haphazardly, and then a bullet not grazed Mel because it like it was fatal, and yeah, then she starts to die from it, and they add something to the scene that makes it way more visceral, which is Mel trying
Ugh.
to like talk Ellie through during a C-section and cutting the baby out of her, because this is where we find out that Mel is pregnant with Owen's baby, and of course Ellie didn't know that before she shot her. And this is, like I said, iconic scene in the game because it obviously, of course, relates directly back to Dina and the fact that she also has a pregnant partner in this city, surrounded by soldiers and religious zealots, and they're in incredible danger. And this exact same thing that she just did could happen to Dina.
Yeah. Mm. I feel like with this version of the scene, there's a lot of symbolism there. The fact that like Mel is a doctor, and again, it's like there's so much stressed importance on doctors in the world of The Last of Us. Of course, you got Abby's father. Nora was a doctor and was like tending the people in a hospital, or not a doctor, but she was tending the people in a
Yeah,
hospital. And you have Mel, a doctor. Everything that she knew, all of the knowledge that she had is slowly fading away. And Abby is left not knowing what to really, or not Abby, Ellie is left not knowing what to do at all. I feel like there's that layer there. Quite amazing. He mentioned like Ellie's trying to do her best Joel impression and be like, mark on the map in a better match and stuff like that. Like a lot of the same
Yeah.
stuff that Joel would do. Ellie's trying to run an interrogation the way that it should go. But, Ellie's a child. Or at least in the way that they portray Ellie in the show, she's just more she is a teen. Um and yeah, overall, I feel like it's definitely more visceral and the impact of it is far greater. Like they did it this way with Ellie accidentally killing Mo
Mm.
because the way that Ellie did it was definitely, like you were saying, is way more in cold blood.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like the way that Ellie does it, Ellie stabs Mo.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it's
true.
brutal how Ellie does it in the game.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of showing her ruthlessness in the game versus the show. And this is the
right.
moment in, I mean, it's kind of also what they're doing in the show, but this is the moment in the game, especially where she kind of realizes like, okay, I gotta go. Like I can't stay here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
whereas, in the show, she has multiple of those moments of maybe I should go. But in the game,
Right. Exactly. It's so many.
she was pushed to this point of like just murdering these people in cold blood, and they realizing, oh, I just murdered a pregnant lady. And I can never remember if she killed
Mm.
the dog in the game or not.
She did.
Yeah, they didn't do that in the show because that would have made people
Yeah.
would have hated Ellie. People
Oh,
would
for
have
sure.
hated Ellie, so they were like, we can't have her kill the dog. If it was up to me, she would
They
have killed
they
that
would
dog.
have they would have yeah.
Um,
They would have wrote it down.
yeah,
Yeah.
they couldn't do that. That would have been too much for the audience. Uh, yeah, this
Yeah.
is the moment in the game where it's like she does a bunch of horrible stuff, then does the worst thing possible, and she's like, okay, maybe I've gone too far. And here, I don't know. For me, the impact is lessened because it's like she's already decided she was going to leave, went back on it, and now she decides she's going to
Yeah.
leave again. So to me, it's like it's a very good scene. I like the way they did it in this version of the show. I don't dislike it. It just doesn't hit as hard for me
Yeah.
because there was
Yeah.
already a sense of her, giving up almost. Haley Gross, original writer on the game, brings up a point in the final making of that I've been reiterating in every single one of these discussions, and that's the fact that the game takes place from the point of view of the playable character, so we don't see anything that the player character isn't aware of. But that's not something all games do. But the reason Haley
Right.
Gross mentions the difference um, in the way the story is being told in the game versus the show is because um, we get a lot more Jesse this season, and she uses how being able to see more characters' perspectives allows them to flesh out Jesse way more than they could in the show, and because of that, because we know him a lot better, and as a result, like him a lot better, his death hits like a ton of bricks, whereas in the game,
Yeah.
it's shocking, but it like you don't care necessarily. Like it's shocking,
Yeah.
but I don't care about Jesse necessarily in the game. Um,
Yeah.
but here I care about Jesse. So when it happens, I'm like, and I know it's gonna happen. I'm like, oh, it's gonna suck when this guy dies because this guy's awesome.
Yeah. And I think Jesse was a bright spot of the season. Um, and even though at some points it did feel like the scene with the Seraphite kid seemed a bit forced. I do think that, but I do think that a lot of the characterization with Jesse overall was very well done. Like even outside of the finale, I think the characterization from the start of the season, it was very interesting, and I think that Jesse and Ellie were very interesting foils in regards to Ellie just kind of going off of instinct, just
Yeah,
just not really thinking about due process or anything like that, and just wanting to go, and Jesse thinking about community, thinking about and putting others first.
yeah, that's
It's
very
a
true. There were
very
foils to Ellie in two very different ways. Dina in the way of like kind of like tackling the process of seeking this revenge, whereas Ellie was being reckless. Dina was trying to make sure that she got it done right, and then with Jesse, it was a matter of responsibility and what needs to be done
Exactly.
versus what you want.
And right. And I thought that Jesse and Dina having more characterization, I did enjoy that aspect a ton. Um, yeah, I would say that's the stuff that I enjoyed the most in the season.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like we've been the most negative on the show than we ever have this episode, but this finale is kind of just a bunch of things later on top of each other over the course of the season that kind of like piled up to have us kind of like just look back on it and think that's kind of weird. But ultimately, I think
Yeah,
I can speak for us both. We're like, we liked it. It was good. It's different, and different isn't bad, but it's also not. It's
yeah,
not completely different. Well, Ellie's completely different. We've had that discussion, but
yeah,
ultimately, the story is still going in a very similar direction, and it's good. It's definitely not bad. I always suggest no, I can't.
yeah,
I can't in my soul really suggest playing the game anymore because Druckmann's a Zionist, and I just can't. I can't encourage people to support him. But
yeah,
if you want to play the game, play the game. But I played the game. It is one of my favorite games. But I can't encourage you to play the game. I just can't bring myself to do it
yeah,
anymore. So that's your decision. Do what you want. But it
yeah.
is
Do what you will with that information.
yeah.
Yeah.
But any final
Um,
thoughts before
yeah.
we wrap up?
Overall, I wouldn't say it was as tight as as season one.
Yeah, I mean,
But then again, of course not. Like
especially since
season one,
it was an uphill
it-
battle with the divisiveness of the part two of the game itself.
right. Like part two is already a polarizing story. And some of the story beats in that game people either agree on or disagree on. And there's not really that much of a middle ground there. Yeah. Don't think it's as tight as season one, but I think considering the source material that it's still a solid season of well made television. And I do think it's a landmark for video game adaptation and adaptation of any source material. I feel like just the involvement from Gross and Druckmann, Jason's love of the material, and television as a medium, it creates something very interesting.
Yeah,
Even if I don't agree with some of the story beats, I think that as a concept, it is just a very interesting show to watch.
but
Right.
to wrap things up, you let people know where they can find you.
Yeah. You can find me at underscore Black Norma underscore. So you can find just anything that I'm working on at the time. And yeah, more things to come.
Moving on to video games. So, what you been playing lately?
A lot of Minecraft. A lot of Minecraft, but like modded Minecraft. I don't
I've
know.
also
I'm in
been
that phase.
watching people play Minecraft a
Mhm.
lot lately. Like it's like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I get into these phases where it's like I forget Minecraft exists, and then I remember, and then I play it, like binge play it for like 3 months straight, and then drop it again and forget it exists. So we'll see how long this Minecraft phase of mine lasts, but that's been a thing. Deltarune, chapter 3 and 4, I
Mm.
played almost like the day after launch day, so I bought it the day after, and played through it over the next 2 days. Like chapter 1 and 2 of Deltarune were really, really good, right? I've really, really enjoyed them like a lot more over Undertale. 3 and 4 were peak, I stand by that. Like 10 toes on it. 3 and 4 are peak, and it makes me scared for where it's going to go for 5, 6, and 7 because if we have peak right now, how much more peak is it going to get? Toby Fox is a mad genius, and that's my take.
For me, uh, I played the demo for Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. It's the only
Mm-hmm.
demo I played after all those demos we had after this Summer Games
Right.
Fest. I grew up playing the original Ninja Gaiden on NES at my grandmother's house, so this was a very
Mm-hmm.
nostalgic experience for me. It plays very much like an old school, side-scrolling slasher, but with some modern improvements in, of course, visuals, but also the combat with the ability to dodge roll, which I can't remember if you could do that in the original games. The first level wasn't too hard, but I did die a decent amount as I got used to the controls. So I can see this game getting really hard as you progress, because you very much have to like combine platforming and fighting in a way that I could see getting really complicated. But luckily, there's a very generous checkpoint system, so you don't have to restart the level from the beginning after like 3 deaths like back in the day. You can just keep pushing.
That's good.
Yeah, it releases everywhere on July 31st, including the Switch 2, which is where I'll be playing it. Weeks before Summer Games Fest, there was also a demo for Dispatch. And it's one of the funniest games I've played in years. For those that don't remember, Dispatch is a superhero workplace comedy where choices matter. Manage a dysfunctional team of misfit heroes and strategize who to send to emergencies around the city, all while balancing office politics, personal relationships, and your own quest to become a hero. This is being developed by Ad Hoc Studio, a team made up of former Telltale devs. And I didn't realize that it was a management strategy game based on the trailers, but I had a lot of fun with it. The dialogue choice sections are fully animated cutscenes, and it doesn't seem like you'll be walking around and exploring like you do in most games like this. And that's probably why the game looks so good in terms of art style, because it seems like it's probably going to all be like pre-rendered cutscenes. And it has a star-studded cast, with the main character being played by Aaron Paul. And I meant to look up the rest of the cast, but there's a lot of like actual big name celebrities, but also like some like what do you call them? I guess internet celebrities.
Yeah.
Let me look up the cast real quick. Yeah, because one of the characters is being voiced by Jeffrey Wright. We got Matthew Mercer's in there, Travis Willingham.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I guess everybody else is mostly actually kind of like famous voice actors, but there are a few like famous actors like Aaron Paul, like I said, Jeffrey Wright. But you have Matthew Mercer, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey. But you also have Jacksepticeye. You have Alana Pierce, who's a voice actor, but also a video game writer and journalist. You have what's that? I can't remember his name. Right now, because I'm reading this and I see Jacksepticeye, but they're using his real name, Sean McLaughlin, and I'm like, what are these people's like online names? Because one of them, goddamn Charles White Jr. What is his
oh, that's Critical.
Yeah,
Critical.
Moist Critical. Because I'm like, why? Who the hell is Charles White Jr.? Moist Critical, okay?
Also, the fact that they called him Charles and not Charlie, because he calls himself Charlie like on stream and on camera. Why Charles?
They called that man Charles White Jr.
I didn't even know that was his name.
His whole legal name in there. But yeah,
right.
It's fun. It's funny. I'm excited for it to come out. I believe it's set to release sometime this year, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you should check out the demo. It's real short. It's like unfortunately short. I was mad when it ended. I was so mad because it was so good, and I was like, God damn it, just give me the game. Give me the game right now.
Right.
But yes, it was really good. Next we have, in terms of what I've been playing, Hades 2, the Unseen update. Hades 2 has received its final early access update, and the next update will just be the 1.0 release.
The game. Banger.
So here's a quick overview of the updates without spoiling the game, of course. Discover the hitting aspects of the Nocturnal Arms. Each main weapon has an all-new fighting style to unlock. Speak the vow of rivals to the Oath of the Unseen to take on stronger-than-ever guardians, each with unique surprises. Unleash God-sent hexes on your foes, dazzling moon magic, upgraded with the power of the Olympians. Forge bonds with a variety of characters and many new optional story events that bring you closer than before. And yeah, I think that's it. That last one I'm especially excited about, so that I can push forward the romances. Of course, I immediately downloaded it and started to hop back in to experience the new stuff. And so far, I've only seen the new character models and portraits, but I did not, I did activate after my second run after the update, the Vow of Rivals. So I'll start seeing the like updates or like, yeah, the updates to the bosses that happen after that, because you have to activate it and then they get a new moveset and stuff. And I'm far enough in to where I'm like, okay, these like the Hecate boss fight is like light work. Step it up.
Right.
So now I'm about to see if she whoops my ass. But yeah, we're so close. That game is absolutely coming out this year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm getting on my Switch. Hopefully they have cross save day one, and I can just transfer my stuff from my PC to my Switch.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll just keep playing on my PC because I don't want to start from the beginning. But I hope they do, so I can play it on my Switch. Last but certainly not least, a game that you also need to play. I finally finished Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And it's not only my game of the year, it has the potential to become one of my favorite games of all time. Oh wow. My God. If Persona 5 hadn't already turned me around on turn-based combat, no pun intended, this game absolutely would have done that. I thought that I would hate having to manually parry and dodge attacks, but it's actually one of my favorite parts of the game. And the Lumina and Picto abilities, which are like, I don't even know how to describe them because I don't play enough RPGs to compare it to anything, because it's not like Materia in Final Fantasy, and it's not like really anything else in Persona. But I know it's something that's been done in other RPGs before. And, you know, It's just like stat modifiers and things like that. And just that system, you know, is as complex as you want it to be. You can ignore it. I've listened to a lot of reviews and podcasts where people like didn't realize that they did stuff like give characters an additional 2,000 health sometimes. And they like didn't realize that there were stats like that associated with them, and kind of just threw the ones that they were focusing on how do I describe it? Like there's the stat increases, but then there's the actual ability that it gives you. Like sometimes they're like, okay, whenever you attack someone with a normal attack, it heals 25% of your health. But in addition to that, it gives you an extra 500 health and plus something defense. And some people didn't notice that was a thing, that it added stuff to your stats. I noticed it. And because of that, I had characters that had like 7,000 health by the end.
Oh, wow.
Because I had on my character, I would pick, okay, you get the thing that makes it to where anytime anybody gets healed, they also get healed by 15%. And it also boosts your health by like 1,050. And then I had another thing. I essentially had 3 Pictos on a character that boosted their health by 3,000. And it was crazy. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it just allows you to build out your characters in a bunch of various different ways. And now that I've beaten the game, I've been looking up other people's builds, and they're doing things that I didn't even know was possible. In my experience with RPG so far, I feel like you never truly learn how to play the game until you beat it, because the systems always tend to be even deeper and more complex than you think when you start seeing what other people are doing. Also, the music by Lorien Testard is incredible. And I can't stop listening to it, especially a boss theme called Uneve Atume, which translates to a life loving you. It's real good. I definitely suggest listening to it. It's so good. And it's all wrapped up in a very short and sweet package, by RPG terms, that is. It's like, I think 60 hours if you do all the side quests, which is like half as long as most RPGs. And I didn't do most of the side quests, so mine was like 40 hours, just about. And like, yeah, it was a real good time. It was very.
It sounds like it.
It's on Game Pass, you know. It's also on PC if you want to just buy it, and it's also $40.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think one of my friends has it, and we have Steam family sharing on, so it'll be played. Trust.
Yeah, it's real fun. Yeah, whenever you have time, it's definitely worth checking out.
Bet.
And yeah, I think I might one of these days just sit down and record something separate, where I just by myself for like 10 minutes, break things down in terms of like the story, because the story, I can't even talk about the story. I can only talk about the gameplay right now. The story, the overall like plot, for those who don't know or don't remember, is that you're a part of Expedition 33, which is an expedition of people leaving their continent to go and kill the Paintress. The Paintress every year counts down, starting from 100 down to 0, and people of the age that she paints die or older. Because yeah, like let's say in the year that she paints 36, you turn 36 after she painted it. You don't die immediately. You die when she paints the next number. So yeah, they're going to go kill her, and that's the game. But there's a lot of twists and turns, and the game. I don't even want to say too much. I don't even want to hint at anything. But that's the main plot, and it's real good. It's real good, and the voice acting is incredible. They got some big name actors in there. They got Charlie Cox, Daredevil, playing
Oh wow.
Gustav, and I always forget his name. The dude that played Gollum.
I don't know.
Andy
Hold on, let
Serkis
me look.
plays a character in that. And then they have what's his first name? Something Star. I almost said Patrick.
See, my first thought was Ringo. You're better than me.
Ben Starr. Is one of the characters. Jennifer English is in it. It's a great cast. Yeah, it's real good. And there's a great conversation to have about the story as a whole. And I need to have it with somebody, so you got to play it so we can talk about it.
I will.
Moving on to some gaming news. EA has canceled their Black Panther game. Cliffhanger Studios, the studio developing the game, has been closed down. This is coming from Rebecca Valentine at IGN. In an email sent to staff from EA Entertainment's president, Laura Miele said that these changes, alongside their recent cancellations and layoffs, are being done to sharpen and focus and put their creative energy behind the most significant growth opportunities. To that end, Miele's email continues, the company is focusing on a small handful of franchises going forward: Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex Legends. Miele also reassures EA will continue to invest in its Iron Man game at Motive and the third Star Wars Jedi game, as well as maintain its mobile business despite today's cuts. And according to Bloomberg, EA executives were frustrated that the game had not yet left the pre-production phase after nearly 4 years in development. And the studio was building something that was very similar to the Nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor that was supposed to be used in another canceled game, Wonder Woman. So yeah, I feel like it's understandably very easy to blame this on EA because fuck capitalism. But if it's true that they were like spinning their wheels for 4 years, it becomes a lot more understandable why this game got canceled. But we don't know exactly, what happened in the background that resulted in that stagnation. But either way, dissolving the entirety of the studio's result sucks. Like, canceling the game makes sense, but getting rid of all those people and having them lose their jobs sucks.
Very much so.
Jacob Fisher DF on Twitter, I think, puts it perfectly. They say gaming right now is studios announcing a game that will take 6 to 8 years to develop, but then canceling said game 2 years later. It's almost like they shouldn't just be making games that take 6 to 8 years. There will always be a place for games like that, but not all superhero games, especially, need to be Insomniac Spider-Man or the Arkham games in scope. We need smaller and cheaper games with quicker turnaround times to be made and released in the years between these big projects so that they can turn a profit and keep the audiences engaged. I hate that we don't have any superhero games outside of Rivals right now. We're getting Cosmic Invasion from Tribute Games soon. And we need more games like Cosmic Invasion, to be honest. I've said it in a previous episode. Make a Metroidvania Blade game or an Iron Man game. An Iron Man game that's just an on-rail shooter. That, like, not everything needs to be these big open world games. Like, make something short and sweet that's just fun, where you can get the experience of playing as that character. We do still have that Black Panther and Cap America game by Amy Hennig, the director of Uncharted 2, and hopefully that actually releases and is good. But it sucks that all these superhero games are getting canceled. But Marvel's doing better than DC, at least. They've actually releasing some games, and they actually have some coming out soon. Like they have Rivals, they have Cosmic Invasion coming up, and they have that fighting game, Took On Fighting Souls, coming up too.
Right.
Whereas DC has Buckus. So, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. It's just really disappointing. I was looking forward to it, and like I really think that dissolving the entire studio was like just a really bad decision. I don't know. Like canceling the game, sure, whatever, that's fine. But like, does like it's I don't know. EA is really not winning any points from me here. Definitely so because The Sims sucks now. Like it. Oh, we're dissolving the studio to focus on The Sims, but The Sims is terrible. Like. Well, it's
And
terrible now. It used to be really good. They're not. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a decision that makes sense to me.
I hope Skate is good. I know it's going to be free to play, which is both a blessing. It could be either a blessing and a curse, or a curse. I mean,
Definitely more of a curse in EA's hands. I feel like.
but like I feel like as long as like the base gameplay is good and the map is good, that's good enough. Like you don't have to pay for anything. You just skate around, have fun. But
Right.
you know, they could easily mess it up with microtransactions, or even though they're claiming they aren't,
Oh yeah, for sure.
they could. Because you know, like just getting EA to make single player games nowadays is like pulling teeth. You know, they got
It is,
very
yeah.
very rare exceptions like Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor. You know, they haven't had a game like Mass Effect in a long time. They tried to make a Mass Effect, it was bad. Recently, news has come out about the very troubled development of Dragon Age: The Veilguard and how that game just went through a bunch of iterations of things that the people making the game itself did not want to make. And it was kind of EA forcing them to make something that they didn't, which is, you know, tale as old as time when it comes to game development. And that's why that game didn't do as well as you know, they wanted it to, and, you know, why it reviewed so poorly. And yeah, EA just needs
Right.
to get their shit together. I wish Motive, you know, I hope the Iron Man game is good, of course, but I wish Motive was working on Dead Space 2 instead of Iron Man,
Yeah.
because that's the team that made the Dead Space remake.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, from my understanding, I don't think the entire team was like just laid off. I think they must maybe, I don't know if all of them, but some of them were like just sent off to other teams to work on like Battlefield and stuff like that, which is like that also sucks too though.
I
Like,
hope so.
but I guess at
Yeah.
least they have a job.
Right.
But yeah, it sucks that studio was shut down. Next we have Blood of Dawnwalker gameplay overview. Yeah, we had you know what? No, I did send it to you because it was a 20-minute video. And I was like, I only sent you trailers. But you remembered Blood of Dawnwalker. It is a vampire game being made by the Witcher devs. And we got a gameplay overview. And it looks pretty fun. So I'm gonna read a blurb from an article written by Sal Romano from Gamematsu. So, publisher Bandai Namco and developer Rebel Wolves have released a 21-minute gameplay overview video for The Blood of Dawnwalker, featuring a presentation of some of the game's features and mechanics. 14th century Europe. Bloody conflicts in 14th century Europe. Bloody conflicts sweep the lands, and the Black Death comes for the survivors. It's a moment of weakness, and that's all they needed. Vampires seize their opportunity to walk out of the shadows and claim what they've been denied for centuries: freedom, and the power that comes with it. Other creatures of the night follow their lead. Legends turn into reality, and history as we know it will never be the same. You play as Cohen, a young man turned into a Dawnwalker, forever treading the line between the world of day and the realm of night. Fight for your humanity or embrace the cursed powers to save your family. Whatever your choice, the question stands: is your soul worth the lives of those you love? So, make the story your own. Experience and shape the plot the way you want. Embark on the quest to save your family, or swear revenge on your sire and destroy everyone standing in your way. Discover the ancient secrets lurking in the valley, rush in head first, or risk taking time to prepare. Go alone or search for friends and forge unlikely alliances. Day and night. Experience 2 different gameplay loops, offering distinct abilities to choose from. Mysteries to uncover and varying ways to achieve your goals. Experiment with different approaches and discover how the world reacts to your actions. So, in terms of the story, it feels like they're well, actually, I should start with the fact that in the video, the narrator describes the game as a narrative sandbox and uses the fact that you can skip quests as an example. And it seems like this game is taking a page out of Breath of the Wild's book and allowing you to go straight to the final boss whenever you want. But it also feels like they're attempting to solve for one of Zelda's biggest criticisms when it came to their approach to that style of, I guess, open world. and kind of trying to keep the story linear despite how asynchronous the mission structure is. And we'll have to wait to see if they succeed. But it seems like you can tackle quest in a way that allows a linear story to be told. Unlike in Breath of the Wild, where you have to get the memories and they're all disjointed and you can get them out of order, and a lot of people weren't a fan of that.
Right.
But in terms of like every action matters, that's also interesting in how you can choose to approach essentially taking out the final boss. Actually, no. Did I read that part? I'm skipping over something that I wanted to say.
I think you did.
I actually wanted to talk about the day and night. So at day, you're a human with some slight magical ability, but at night, you're full vampire. So you're not a Dampier. You're more of, or like a daywalker like Blade, where like Blade is a vampire all the time that can walk in the sun. Instead, in the morning, you're mostly human, and at night, you're full vampire.
Gotcha.
And the blood drinking mechanic is interesting because that is the only way I think to you can recover your health. But also, as you're drinking a person's blood, there's a bar that goes down, and once it gets past a certain point, the person passes out, and sometimes you don't fully recover all of your health doing that. But you can go further and kill them and drain all their blood, and you can decide whether or not you want to be the type of vampire that kills people or just makes them pass out. But also, you cannot drink people's blood at all and just choose to drink animals' blood, which I think is really cool. Which makes me really excited for that role playing aspect of this vampire game, because I've never played a vampire game that lets you do something like that.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, the more I realize I haven't played many vampire games at all outside of like Castlevania. And most of those games you don't play as a vampire; you play as a vampire hunter.
Right.
So yeah, that's really cool. So next we have every action and inaction shapes the world around you. Your family's days are numbered, and every time you take on a quest, time moves forward, compelling you closer to the end. Choose carefully whom to help and whom to leave behind. You will not have time for everyone. The world waits for no one, and neither does the villain. So there's a 30-day time limit on the main quest of taking out like the big bad guy. So yeah, you have to be careful with what you're doing and manage your time well, which is interesting, especially since at night you get all the cool vampire powers, including like this like ability to like walk up walls and like teleport and like all this cool stuff. And if you always want to wait till you're a vampire to do stuff because it's cooler, then you're gonna be moving those days along way faster. So you have to find time to do stuff in the day. So sword, claws, and rage. Defy gravity, become a brutal force of nature, and use your supernatural skills as a vampire. Or raise your sword and employ powerful magic to take on opponents as a human. Experiment and adapt as your form changes during the day and night. Each has its strengths and weaknesses. So the combat seems like For Honor. I don't know if you've ever played For Honor or seen someone play For Honor, but
I have seen someone play it.
You attack in 4 different directions and you block in 4 different directions, and it's the exact same way in this game.
Oh wow.
And that's very interesting. But also when you perform magic, time slows down and freezes, almost similar to like the VAT system in a Fallout. And then you choose an ability to perform. The combat looks interesting. I feel like I need to see more, because it seems like in like larger groups of enemies, that style of combat is a bit annoying, especially because the camera's so tight on the person. So hopefully you can like adjust the camera, or like the battles are always kind of like more intimate and like less enemies.
Right.
Yeah. So next we have open world brimming with adventure. Venture through the handcrafted open world and discover all it has to offer. Roam through the lush forests, vast plains, and treacherous swamps, the steep mountaintops, and the medieval settlements. Explore forgotten ruins, find remnants of an ancient civilization, and uncover truths that should probably remain hidden. Yeah, this is set to release, I believe, sometime next year. And the more we see, the cooler it looks. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I hope it's good.
Me too.
I need a good vampire game in my life. But we still got that Blade game by Arcane coming soon, and I have complete and total faith in that. So.
Oh yeah, totally.
Next we have Konami Press Start. Konami had a mostly boring showcase, but we got some new Metal Gear Solid Delta news and a cool announcement. So it was revealed that while Snake vs. Monkey, the Ape Escape inspired game mode, will be exclusive to PlayStation, Xbox will be getting a similar mode, but with Bomberman.
Oh, that's actually really clever.
Yeah. They also revealed that, this was me learning that Konami owned Bomberman. I didn't know that. I didn't know Bomberman was Konami property. I love
Me
Bomberman
neither.
though. They also revealed that the multiplayer mode teased at the end of the last trailer is a hide and seek mode called Fox Hunt. So one person is a seeker with going to go murder somebody, and the other one hides. But the biggest surprise of the event was the announcement of a Silent Hill 1 remake by Bloober Team, the team behind Silent Hill 2 remake.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool. Excited to see that.
Very cool.
And I'm sure they'll do 3 eventually. Next, we have the next-gen Xbox. Xbox President Sarah Bond announced in a YouTube video titled Xbox plus AMD, powering the next generation of Xbox, that they've established a strategic multi-year arrangement with AMD to co-engineer silicon across a portfolio of devices, including their next-generation Xbox consoles. Bond says that this is all about building you a gaming platform that's always with you, delivering you an Xbox experience, not locked to a single store or tied to one device. That's why we're working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is the number one platform for gaming. We've said it before, but to people obsessed with the console wars, this sounds like Xbox is giving up. But to anyone with a brain, it's clear that they are doing the complete opposite. Instead of continuing to compete in a space where they've been on the back foot for years, Xbox is expanding their portfolio to a market that PlayStation and Nintendo just doesn't interact with very often. PC.
Yeah.
The PC market has grown exponentially over the years, and even though consoles are still the easiest way to play games and the most accessible way, due to the internet, PC gaming has become way more accessible and less daunting and confusing. And I think that we're going to get exactly what what I and I'm sure many others have predicted, which is an Xbox PC, built by Xbox, Microsoft, and AMD, that is more customizable than a traditional Xbox, but also not nearly as customizable as a traditional PC to avoid, the confusion of all those, parts. And basically make, having a PC and upgrading a PC more accessible to the average person and to get the average person into the PC ecosystem and into the Xbox ecosystem. And, I think that this device would only be a gaming device. It would not be a PC that can do other PC stuff. And that it would include the Steam and Epic Game Store. And something that bridges, the console and PC market gap, like you said. And also, the more consoles that Xbox's games are on, the more money. And the more money the game industry makes, the better for the world. Or the better for the games industry, based in, the very capitalistic world that we live in. So ultimately, this is all a good thing. If it goes well, which I think it will.
I hope it will.
What are your thoughts on Xbox's kind of what it seems like their plan is?
I'm glad that they've not necessarily given up the ghost, but I'm glad that they've realized where they're at in the race right now, and they're like, let's regroup, let's refocus, let's try and hit a market that nobody else is hitting rather than trying to compete with the two big dogs. I think that's better for them overall. And honestly, I would be interested in a kind of hybrid PC console sort of thing that is more accessible than PC gaming, but is as easy as gaming on a console. That's really interesting to me. And I would totally put my money into that. You know?
If that's the next generation of Xbox and it can play on my Xbox disc, that's absolutely the next Xbox I would get. And then, I would, sell my Xbox Series X and get that. And that would be my main Xbox. And I would, I would upgrade it and buy the next, whatever I need to upgrade it over the years. And, that would transition me as a person who, my PC content is on a laptop. That's where I'm playing Hades 2 early access. And other, games that are getting demos on Steam and TC and stuff. So if I could play my Steam demos on my TV, that would be great.
That'd be a banger.
That would be great. Yeah, and like I said, I imagine this would have Steam and Epic. Epic, I'm not 100% certain because it doesn't seem like the Epic's game store is going to be on the ROG Xbox Ally,
Hmm.
but Steam is. So it seems like there might be something about Epic not wanting to be part of the Xbox ecosystem in that way. But that's
Hmm.
not 100% confirmed, so we'll have to wait and see. But just
Right.
having the Xbox, app and UI and Steam is enough for me because I don't use
Yeah.
I already don't use the Epic Game Store, and I think that if I had to guess, I think more people probably use Steam than the Epic Game Store.
Oh, for sure. The
So
only reason like I use the Epic Game Store is because it has free games sometimes,
mm,
not very often, and not often games that I'm interested in, but like free games you can keep. So I'll do it for that, but like not as my primary choice
but
for
yeah,
online games. That's Steam all day long.
when you do sit down and think about it and realize, oh yeah, PlayStation and Nintendo, like PlayStation more so than Nintendo, of course, because some of their games are on Steam now. Um, but like Nintendo doesn't put their games on PC, and like
Right.
it takes years before PlayStation puts their games on PC. So it's like, yeah, Xbox has room to get into the PC market and kind of dominate there because Nintendo and
And then
PlayStation don't care about that.
right, and then they also have like more of an opportunity to get out all the growing pains before it starts becoming like a real competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I think that was Xbox's problem like before. Like they'd see that PlayStation or Nintendo was doing a new thing and they're like, we want to do that thing too, but because like Nintendo and PlayStation were like more established in that thing, they had time to get rid of all the growing pains. Xbox would jump in. It wouldn't really work out for them because again, they don't account for said growing pains. And given that the market is so competitive, like you're not going to go for like a console that's still trying to work out all those kinks rather than two that are like established and they know kind of I guess know what they're doing. So I don't know, but it gives them a lot of opportunity to get back on their feet. Thanks.
Yeah, they also recognize that they wouldn't catch up by making a bunch of exclusive games and trying to force people to get an Xbox to play those games. Especially
Right.
since they bought studios that were making games for everything, and if they suddenly started making those games exclusive to Xbox, that would just cause anger and frustration.
Yeah.
So they're continuing
Exactly.
to have all those games released everywhere. Like Doom came out, it's still everywhere. Like Doom is on PlayStation, it's on
Mm-hmm.
PC. It's probably going to be on the Switch eventually because Doom Eternal is on the Switch.
Right.
And they're going to continue to release all of their games everywhere. Like now, Gears of War's everywhere. It's only a matter of time before Halo's everywhere. And all these
Right.
Xbox exclusive games that we associate with heavily with Xbox, like the next Halo game that they're working on currently, is probably going to be everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
this is just a smart move on their part. They're making more money in that way. They can transition from a traditional console to something that's more like a PC. And yeah,
Yeah.
they can just make this transition into doing something similar to what Nintendo did, where Nintendo is just in a market that PlayStation, Xbox aren't in yet. Of course, they're slowly starting to make their way into it again. PlayStation used to be there,
Right.
then they gave up on it with the Vita, even though they shouldn't have. If they kept
Mm-hmm.
pushing it, they would probably be exactly where
It
Nintendo
would
is
be
right now.
popular.
Um,
Yeah, because now everybody wants a Vita because they're like, oh, the nostalgia of it all. Like everyone wants a Vita now, from what I've seen. So it's like, PlayStation, bring it back. It'll be
and
successful this time
if
for sure.
Xbox is still making their own handheld, and the ROG Ally isn't just the only one that they're making, and then that will also be a big major step in that. And supposedly PlayStation is also working on a
Yeah.
handheld too, so we'll see. But yeah, to wrap things up, we're going to talk about the Donkey Kong Bananza Direct, which was really,
Yes.
really good. I was always excited for this, but I'm also
Right.
not a big Nintendo guy, and I'm not a big Donkey Kong guy. I've always liked Donkey Kong. I always thought Donkey Kong was cool. But outside of the very first Donkey Kong game with Jumpman, I don't think I've played any Donkey Kong games. So I don't have any nostalgia for what Donkey Kong used to be. So I just thought this looked cool. But
Right.
all the people with nostalgia for what
Right.
Donkey Kong used to be were immediately apprehensive and kind of negative on it. But now this has kind of like convinced a lot of those people that, okay, this game is a lot more than they thought it was. And it's actually going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Donkey Kong broadly before we start digging into the details?
I am also not really into Donkey Kong. I've played Donkey Kong Country, I think 1, 2, and 3. Didn't really enjoy them that much. I get why they're popular, but like the soundtracks are the best part of those games for me, and not really the gameplay. But this was really cool, and I really like what they're doing with it.
Yeah, no, this looks awesome. So it was revealed at the beginning of the trailer, after a very Disney-esque singing segment, that Odd Rock is actually Pauline, and that she was like turned into a rock by the new villains of this game, which are called the Void Company, and their ranks include Grumpy Kong, Poppy Kong, and Void Kong. And yeah, it was leaked a month or so ago that it was Pauline, and that Odd Rock was Pauline, because Nintendo of Korea mistakenly, I think, posted it on their website. An image of Pauline in a place where Odd Rock was in previous promotional material. So it leaked, right. But now it's been fully revealed, and people are pulling a Zelda and going like, "But the timeline, it doesn't make any sense." If Cranky Kong was the if Cranky Kong was the Donkey Kong in the first Donkey Kong game who kidnapped Pauline, and Pauline was a grown woman, how is it that this Donkey Kong, who's his grandson, has this baby Pauline? It doesn't matter. Okay, none of these games have a timeline. Right. They may pretend like Zelda has a timeline. Zelda doesn't have a timeline.
Zelda's time. I will never not dog on the Zelda, the official, in air quotes, Zelda.
They should have never done that.
So bad.
They should have never done that.
They should have never done it. It makes no sense. And then also, like, it really, like, it gives them a cutoff point for, like, making video games. Why would you, like, give yourself a cutoff point? And Skyward Sword at that. Like, nobody... I say this as a person who liked Skyward Sword, one of the few who did. Like, nobody is rocking with Skyward Sword enough for it to be the end of the timeline like that. Nobody.
What's
not
the beginning?
A soul. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. See, and that's another thing that makes the timeline really stupid. I can barely remember which game fits in where.
But yeah, like, if they're just like retconning it and like this is the story leading up to the original Donkey Kong, then that's cool. That's fun. And it turns out the whole time, right, Donkey Kong wasn't the villain, and Mario's the villain trying to kidnap this little girl from Donkey Kong. she was like hanging out with her friend, and Mario said, "What are you doing with that gorilla?" He just raised his profile. That's what happened. Okay, he saw a Kong and a white girl, and immediately thought there was a problem.
Right.
Just this white Italian plumber who was out here profiling Kongs. Okay.
Can't believe this.
But yeah, it's also revealed that Donkey Kong can transform into a bigger, stronger gorilla with a Kong Bananza, and he can also transform into a speedy zebra, a flying ostrich that can also drop egg bombs with Zebra Bananza and Ostrich Bananza. And there's also an indicator that there will be two more transformations in the skill tree, which there's a skill tree, which I didn't expect. But I'm excited to see what new skills will be available that enhance the gameplay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're in the section where you have the skills for the different transformations. There are 2 more spots for 2 more Bananza transformations. And if I had to predict, one of them is going to be a Kremling, which are the alligator people, like Ken K. Rool.
Yeah, probably.
And there are hints. The fact that they're hiding stuff. Ken K. Rool is going to be in this game. I don't expect Ken K. Rool to not be in this game. The question is, will he also be redesigned? Or will he just look the same? Because Dixie and Diddy and Cranky are in this game, but they look the same. Mm-hmm. But also, what other Kongs will be in this game? There's a surf section. What about, I forget his name. What's the Kong that surfs? Dang, I can't remember. It was just in my head. What was his name?
The one with the sunglasses, right?
Yeah, the sunglasses and do-rag.
Funky Kong.
Yeah, Funky Kong. Is Funky Kong going to be in the game? Are we going to see other Kongs? What about Donkey Kong's girlfriend? I don't remember her name either, but where's she at? Are we gonna see Donkey Kong's father? We're gonna see DK Jr. They need to bring back DK Jr. and like now I'm invested in the timeline. Like, where's DK Jr.? What's going on? Where is his father? Did he abandon him? Is he dead? Did Mario kill his father? No.
Actually, it's funny that you say that because in the original DK Jr., Mario was like a circus, like a circus ringleader. And the whole premise of DK Jr. was DK Jr. trying to get his father back from the evil circus man that was abusing him.
See?
Which is insane.
I told you, this man Mario. Gotta watch out. He's the problem.
Talk about him.
He's the problem. Mm-hmm. Luigi, get your brother.
Right.
But yeah, what do you think about the transformations? I know a lot of people, they're cool, but to some people they just look weird.
I think they do look a little weird, but I think it's cool in concept, and also the fact that they have a skill tree is really, really interesting. And it kind of calls back to like Donkey Kong Country, your animal pals, and I like that they gave it more of like a like you have more control over it rather than it being like an animal pal. It's like DK himself. I don't know. I just think that's cool, like a cool direction to take that kind of thing is. I hope there's a Rhino one in those last two that haven't been revealed, because it's like we've got almost all of them. We just don't have the Rhino.
I'm trying to think because I'm thinking like there has to be maybe like a water related one, and like the Kremlin could be that, like an alligator crocodile thing. You have a strong one, a fast one, a flying one, and potentially a water based one. So, and I feel like the Kong one is already kind of like fills the role that I feel like the Rhino one would. So it's like, what would that fifth one be? A snake? I don't know.
A snake would be cool, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But you can also customize DK and Pauline, and these costumes will boost certain stats. But I hope there's a transmog feature that allows you to transfer perks between costumes so that you can, look how you want while also getting the abilities that you want. Because it always sucks when you're stuck with certain abilities based on certain costumes. So you have to dress ugly if you want the best abilities.
Right.
And also, some quality of life stuff they showed in this. There's a way to, teleport between, or teleport, as they say, between levels using eels. You could go between the different levels themselves, but also within the level, you can teleport between different spots on the level, which is great.
A banger. Yeah.
And yeah, of course, a lot of people comparing this game to Hulk Ultimate Destruction. And I've talked about it before. If we got a Hulk game that was just this, I would be happy.
Real.
Like, it would be so fun. And I thought of a really cool idea. So imagine this. It takes place in the Savage Land. If you don't know what Savage Land is, it's essentially like you remember that movie Journey to the Center of the Earth? It's like that.
Okay.
They like under Antarctica is this like prehistoric land. The game would take place there. That way it's still on Earth, because this is on Earth. The Savage Land. That way it's still on Earth. That way Hulk's villains could make their way down there and he could fight various villains. But also there would like some of the basic enemies would be like prehistoric animals, like dinosaurs and stuff. But you would have your little person that's with you, a little human that's down there, because humans live down there. And you're protecting them as the Hulk. And it turns out at the end of the game, it's not actually a real person the whole time. It's Bruce Banner in the Hulk's subconscious, because the Hulk was essentially created in Bruce's mind to protect him from his abusive father. So the Hulk sees Bruce as a child. So the whole time you think the child's real and you think people are interacting with the child, but the whole time the child's not there. It's just a figment of the Hulk's imagination. And then the kid just transformed into grown man Bruce. And then the Hulk transforms back into Bruce. And it's cool. See, I got ideas. Okay, hire me.
That's a fun angle. Angle. I really like that.
Yeah, and also we need just the Hulk to be like the Hulk can be various things. But something that he used to be that I think is about to be taken over by the Thing is a lot of kids' favorite superhero, because he's just big, strong dude, and kids like that. And they're releasing new Thing hands, like the Hulk hands, that are for sure about to take over the market right now in terms of toys.
Oh, for sure.
Because Hulk hands were fire. I had Hulk hands.
Every kid had one. I was about to say, I think I had a pair. My cousins had a pair. I wasn't even really into superheroes growing up, but I had some.
Yeah. Give me some Donkey Kong hands.
I'm saying.
But yeah, they. I was going to make the joke that a lot of people are making about how they officially announced that DK in just a tie, he's naked. He's not wearing clothes. That tie doesn't count as clothes. He's naked. just a grown monkey walking around naked with a little girl on his shoulder.
No clothes.
Okay, maybe Mario's right.
Okay, Mario might be a little justified. That does look that's got bad optics.
Maybe Mario saw that and was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?"
Right.
But yeah, this looks cool. Oh wait, actually, before we wrap up, I did want to mention the co-op mode, which is basically just little sibling or kid mode, where basically your sibling or your child can just have fun doing random stuff while you actually play the game. And you could have
That's my favorite kind of co-op.
Pauline like scream and like actual physical words like onomatopoeias will come out and like shoot out and hit things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool.
It is cool.
Features like that are fun to just, have kids be able to play
Yeah.
games while you're playing the game.
Yeah, like Mario Galaxy, where it's like you can shoot the star bits at stuff.
Yeah,
just for the kicks
and Cappy in Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this game looks cool. I'm excited. It comes out next month, June 11th. Pretty soon.
Wow.
I'm excited. But yeah, that's all I got. If you don't have anything.
Nope, I don't have anything.
Yeah, I'm Dijon. You can find my ads above me. Aira's at above them. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.
Yeah.